All right. So today we are going to talk about the prevailing discipline of financial advisors and the financial community as it pertains to retail investors. So retail investors is the average guy, the everyday guy. That is a retail investor. So the prevailing process followed is asset allocation. And it sounds complex, I think, sometimes when it's talked about. Asset allocation is very, very simple. We're going to talk about that a bit here today to give you an idea in this course of what you're going to be learning. It's very important to learn what asset allocation is before you start using it. So let's dip right into it. Basically, asset allocation is nothing more than a way to reduce risk and maximize return. I think many investors think that maximizing return is probably far more important than it is to minimize risk, when in fact, the opposite is the truth. And we're going to get into that here in a minute when we talk about why you would rather have a 5% return per year than a 25% return. I repeat, you would definitely rather make 5% per year than 25%. And we're going to get into that in just a minute. So first, let's talk about some risks. What types of risks do we have? Well, we have company-specific risk. So that's for any individual company. You know, you have tech companies out there like Apple. You have electric car companies out there like Tesla. They all carry their own company-specific risk, being how much debt do they carry, management style, experience of management, many different company specific risks. And those are all specific to that particular company. So if you own 10 companies, you have reduced your company specific risk as compared to owning one. It really is that simple. Socioeconomic risk. This is risk across the globe and around the globe. So this is conflict, whether it be wars or coups or any other kind of government conflict that may be going on around the world. Interest rates. Interest rate risk. We are experiencing right now an inflation. As interest rates rise, it makes things more expensive, therefore harder to purchase by the average everyday person. It also makes financing much more expensive. So consumerism slows significantly during a true inflationary environment. The other thing that's affected is the bond portion of anyone's portfolio, their investment portfolio. Your bond prices are inversely related to interest rates, which simply means if interest rates rise, the prices of your bonds fall. And the opposite is also true. Okay, so economic risk, that's the risk of falling into a recession or a depression. There are many factors that pertain to economic risk. Just be aware that economic risk is just that, you know, once in every 4 years, we go into a recession. That's just the nature of the economy. And I believe, and as of late, in the last 20 years, we've had two 50% recessions, which technically are depressions. So just be aware of that fact. We also have political risk. Now, this used to be a risk that we all shrugged off. It didn't feel that important. However, after 2020 and the COVID-19 pandemic, political risk is very, very real. Across the globe, we were shut down, our businesses were closed, and there was no economic output to be had because we were not allowed to work. So political risk is a great risk because that was done at a political level. So that is considered political risk. This is something that you need to pay attention to. Shutdowns, lockdowns, that coincides with political risk. Whether you feel that might be called some other risk like health risk, or some of you just feel like that's not a risk at all, it should have never happened. Whatever your viewpoint is, that is political risk. So I also get over and watch the supplement video that I gave along with this course based on risk. It just gets into these risks far more deeply. We don't really need to get that deep in this particular video. I just want you to be aware of those risks. Now I want to dip back to what I said earlier, talking about why you would rather make 5% a year than 25%. What I really want to demonstrate here is that it is not about how much you make. Yes, it is, but it is far more important that you minimize your risks and minimize your downside. So let's go over and take a look at how I can make this claim and why it's so real. All right, so here we are, everybody. And what I am demonstrating here is very, very simple. So we are simply going to get into how a 5% return is actually makes you more money than a 25% return and how that is even possible. So let's go ahead and take a look. So here we are in example one right here. So we have $100,000. We lose 50% of our money in year one. That now gives us $50,000. And in year two, we make 100% of our 50,000, which is another 50,000. So we have our original $100,000 remaining. But let's take a look at what that actually shows you as an average. So we have 2 years, right? We made 100% in 1 year. We made negative 50% in another, which leaves us a positive 50% divided by 2 years. We made 25% per year, and we still have $100,000. And this doesn't even include fees. If I were to put this on any mutual fund, any money management, anything I want, this is true. There is nothing false about this statement. You have averaged 25% a year, and you still have the exact amount of money that you put in. And truth be told, you would have less because you would have paid fees. Now let's go over to example two. We have the same $100,000. We make 5%. That's $105,000. We make 5% in year two. That's $111,000. Here we have averaged 5% per year, and we have 11,000 more dollars than we do over here. So I say to you, you would prefer 5% per year over 25% per year in this example all day long. Now, what this example is here to prove to you is not that math can be tricky, which it can, but it's to show you that having big drawdowns, big swings, negative 50, plus 100, this is far more detrimental to your investment portfolio than simply making 5% per year. This might look a heck of a lot flashier. Example one might look a lot flashier, but example two will actually make you more money. That's all I wanted to show in this example. Now what I want to do is jump over to a chart for you, and I want to show you visually. It's the Ibsen chart for finance, for financials. And I want to show you what asset allocation looks like visually, above and beyond discussion to try to help understand it a bit more. So let's go ahead and jump over there. So here we have our chart. Now, what I would like to do here is I want to show you why asset allocation is used, okay? If we jump onto this chart, what you're going to see here is, let's go to 1997. You have at the very top, meaning the best performing asset class, you have large cap value. It made 35% this year. Then you have large cap growth. It made 30% this year. Then small and mid cap made 24%. Then you have REITs. REITs are tied to real estate. That was 18%. For now, we're going to skip over this diversified portfolio. Bonds made you almost 10%. Cash was 5%. International funds made you 2%. Global bonds made you 1.5%. And finally, commodities at the very bottom, they made you negative 3.5%. And what I want to do right now is I want to show you how this jumps around. I want to show you why it is that we do use asset allocation, or where asset allocation plays a role in protecting you. So let's go ahead and pick commodities here at the bottom. So in 97 and 98, here are commodities. They're at the very bottom of the chart. But look what happens the following year. They almost rise to the top. Now we go up a little bit more. The following year, they're back. They're up at the top. Let's go to the next year. They fall all the way down. Not the very bottom, but darn close. Let's go to the next year. Back to the very top. The following year, almost the bottom, not quite. Then they stay the same. And then they go straight to the top. And then they come straight down. And then they go all the way to the top. And then they come down towards the middle, which is still a negative 35%, so not all that enticing. Then they fall some more. Then they go almost to the top. Then they come to the bottom, where in this case, they sit for quite a while. So commodities were not doing very well here. Then they come to the top, and then they come all the way down to the bottom. So that was commodities. Now, to show you that I'm not picking on commodities, because the example here is to show you that they go from the bottom to the top, to the bottom, to the top, to the middle, to the top, to the bottom, to the top, to the middle, to almost the top, to down to the bottom. They sit at the bottom, then they come up. So I just wanted you to see that it's all over the chart. So the asset class is all over the chart. Now, let's take a look and see if are all asset class this way, or are we simply picking on commodities? Because that's really something important to take a look at. So let's go ahead and choose another asset class. Let's go ahead and just start with this large cap value. Perhaps a different color would be a bit brighter. I'm not sure. Let's see what this looks like here. Well, no, red was probably better than that. What about this? Let's stick with red. Okay, so here we are at large cap value. It's at the top. Here it falls a little bit. Falls a little bit more. That's large cap value. Then we go up a couple. So this looks pretty stable so far. We're down towards, we're below the midpoint. Below the midpoint. Here we go up, across, down, up. Where is it? Oh, almost the bottom. Up, cross, up, up, up. Where is it here? Value. Oh, almost the bottom. Almost the top. So again, this is all over the chart. I mean, if you follow the red arrows along, it's almost the top. Now, let's go ahead and get into an asset class that should carry a little more risk and see what that looks like. We're just following a couple asset classes here. I think it's a good thing for you to look through and for us to do together here, so that we have a good idea of how dramatic it can get. I just showed you large cap value, which is going to be one of your more stable asset classes. But let's just go ahead and jump over to small and mid cap. So here we are. We're third from the top. Now we're third from the bottom. We are fourth from the top, fourth from the bottom, fifth from the top, second from the bottom, all the way to the top. Down, down, stable. Down, 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 all the way down, all the way up, all the way to the very top for the first time. Small mid cap up, almost to the bottom there. Up, and there we are. So as you can see, this went all over the place as well. From nearly the top to the bottom, from the top to the bottom, to the top to the bottom, to the top to the bottom, to the top. So I think we've got the point here. Point being is that these asset classes, they go all over the chart. Now, asset allocation is really built and designed for those that aren't aren't in the business of trying to figure out why this jumps all over the place and what you can do about that. It's more about minimizing that risk, right? So it's about minimizing that risk. Well, why is minimizing risk so important? Well, we already know why it's so important, because we don't want 50% drawdowns, right? We want 5% years. That is what we're looking for. So if we take a look at the diversified portfolio here, you say, okay, well, you made 14.5% here. On the high side, if you got it right, you made 35. On the low side, you lost 4. 6%. High side, 38. Low side, 27. 13. 5. -5. So there's a negative, right? But the big negative that year would have been -21. -2. +30 on a diversified portfolio. 15. 8. 15. 5. -25. As I told you, in the last 20 years, we've had 2 separate occasions where we've been down 50%. So -26, but then +23, +16. Almost basically flat. 12, 13, 5, -3, almost 9, and almost 7. Now, what this is showing you is that these are not big swings. Let's grab our arrow and just go over it. Let's just take a look and see where did it go, right? Look at this. What did we learn about our money in our example of 25% and 5%? Stability is the key. You want it to be stable. Big swings are your enemy. Now, I have to tell you that asset allocation is extremely easy, which is the point of this course. This is not a hard thing to put together. To put together a diversified portfolio that has this capability will probably take you, your setup will be 2 to 3 hours. You'll spend 4 hours in a given year. And heaven knows how much money you'll save. Now, it's not incredibly difficult to start narrowing down where these asset classes are going to move and why they're going to move there, but that is another course. That is the next course. That is not this course. However, if you're looking for a 2 to 3 hour setup time, and maybe if you want to look at this an hour a month, you could even do that, which would be 12 hours a year. You will get the same investment performance. In fact, you'll get much better performance than your financial advisor, simply because you aren't paying the fees. Bare minimum, you'll know if something has gone wrong. You will have empowered yourself through knowledge. Okay, so that's what I wanted to get into today with asset allocation. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to go and visit the supplementary video, the supplement to this video, which is simply called Risk. Go watch that as well. Any questions? You know where you can contact me. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video.